Welcome, heary, heary. It is Mr. Armstrong and Mr. Holman back for another computer side chat. Today we will conquer what topic, Mr. Armstrong?
The Magna Carta, or the Great Charter.
Oh, we're going to talk about the Great Charter. I'm adding a few sound effects today, so this could be entertaining. Well, I noticed we both have crowns on, so today's topic is totally about the king, right?
King John.
Okay, so we're going to get started here. We're talking a lot about the king today. And so why don't you pull up our little presentation? We'll get started.
All right. Here we go.
I'll give you a little background. The Magna Carta, while he's pulling that up, is going to take place in England. So this is happening in the what we would call today the British Isles or the United Kingdom. It's going to take place right outside of London in a small town. And so I think we'll start right there. At least we know where we're at.
All right. So go ahead and get us started with your little discussion and your topic with Rex Lex, and here we go.
Okay, well, the Magna Carta, I'm going to click and stay on your slideshow instead of going back and forth. So the Magna Carta kind of means the Great Charter or the Great Agreement. So what we're going to go into is this agreement between the nobles or the nobility and an agreement with the king. And they're pretty angry with the king. And to help you understand why they're angry with the king, we're going to bring in two Latin terms. One's called rex, and the other one is called lex. Okay. Now, you may have seen the word rex. If you've seen rex before, let's think about where we've seen rex. Mr. Armstrong, any ideas?
That makes me think of the dinosaur.
Oh, so the Tyrannosaurus rex is known as the king of the dinosaurs. So rex is another Latin word for the king. Okay, so it means king. Lex is a little different. That one's not as easily to say. What does the word lex mean? But do you have any way to remember that?
Well, just kind of based off of what I know, the way that I kind of help remember that is the fact that it starts with an L and it's a three-letter word, and the word that it kind of goes with would be law. So yeah, that's the route that I go to remember it. Do you have any better tricks than that?
No, I think that's probably a pretty good one. So what we have here is rex lex, which basically means before the Magna Carta, the king was above the law.
Which is why, if on the picture here, the word rex is above lex to kind of help show that and to demonstrate that. So hopefully it'll help you remember that rex lex is the king being above the law. And
therefore he could do as he saw fit. He could kill anybody. He could take you away. He could punish you. He could put you in prison. He could throw you in the dungeon. And there's nothing anybody could do to stop him. He could collect more taxes and nobody could stop him. He could come into your shop and take everything you had, and there's nothing anyone could do to stop him because he was above the law. He made all the decisions. So obviously, the Great Charter is going to change all that. It is going to change the way the king is seen. It's not going to make the king equal to the law. Oh no. Drum roll, please. It is going to make the king beneath the law. And so we're going to see this make a turn, and lex will now be the ultimate.
Whoops, excuse me.
There we go. I got to get that right. So at this point, the Magna Carta basically says the law is above the king. He can no longer do as he sees fit.
And the other picture that I have here to help with this is the picture of the king. So you have the king. Sorry, I'm switching on my iPad. We have the king here, bound by the law. He's wrapped up by the law. So he has to obey the law. He can't just do whatever he wants anymore. It's no longer just his world and we're all living in it. It is becoming our world, and the nobles and the barons who Holman is drawing his arrows at now are now a vital role and can hold the king accountable and hold him up to the same laws that they have to follow.
And I know we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but I will circle that. That becomes very important as we move on. So let me give a little bit of background on the Magna Carta. You're going to read a lot more. Ultimately, King John is taxing the nobles an extended amount of money. King John comes along, and basically the nobles come together as a group, and they basically take their knights and send them around around London, and they say, if you do not sign this, we will burn the city of London to the ground. So they basically threaten the king. They turn on him. So King John is forced to meet at a place called Remy Mead, which we'll talk about Remy Mead, and you'll look at it when you go in. After the threat, the king is forced to sit down and listen to the nobles' demands. The Magna Carta has 65 demands they place on the king. We'll talk about a few of those. And they force him to, and I'm going to use the word sign it, but that's where you can pick it up.
All right. So I've mentioned a little bit throughout the year that not throughout the year, but throughout this Middle Age unit, that education is no longer a very valuable thing. It's not what everybody's holding. It doesn't have the weight that it had during the Greeks and the Romans, because most of life at this time was revolved around the idea of survival. So people no longer knew how to read or write, and that included the king. So though a lot of books say that he signed the Magna Carta, he didn't actually sign it. Because he didn't know how to sign his name. He used his official seal, which I just drug over here, which is basically a stamp of his emblem that he used for his signature since he didn't know how to write. He would have hope for that.
Yeah, we told the kids about the signet ring that he would use to stamp things. So it's the same idea. He's using this to stamp the information, which is pretty cool. So we're going to have to move on because I believe our announcements might be starting in a minute. We may get interrupted here. But you can again see the stamp. He's going to sign it. So let's move on to a couple of those major events in the Magna Carta.
All right. So excerpt number 38. Bailiff should in future put anyone to trial upon his own bare word without reliable witness produced for this purpose.
Well, here comes the music, which is going to interrupt us. What a shame.
The other part here is no free.
My end. You get to explain this, and I'll mute this while we listen to the music so you can get through it.
All right. The next expert says no free man is to be arrested or imprisoned or deceased or outlawed or exiled or in any other way ruined, nor will he go against him or sin against him except by the lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. So that is a lot of wording to essentially say that it is you no longer have the ability to put somebody in prison or to declare somebody guilty of a crime without having reliable witness, and without having without having lawful judgment. So reliable witness meaning somebody has to prove that you're actually guilty, and lawful judgment is referring to like a judge and a jury who is residing over your case. And again, here to kind of elaborate a little bit more, it's got a lawful judgment of his peers by the law of the land. So by his peers is really referring to the jury. So, maybe your parents if they've ever been summoned by the court to have to go in, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say summoned by the court, but if they've ever gotten a letter that says that they need to have jury duty, that's what this is meaning here by peers of the jury. So people who live in the area act and decide whether or not somebody's innocent or guilty. And Mr. Holman is circling prove before jail. I'm not 100% sure if he can still hear me, but we want to make sure that we elaborate on that. Yes, he can still hear me. So you do have to be proven guilty before you can go to jail. All right, now, so that is an excerpt from the Magna Carta. We're going to look at an excerpt from the United States Constitution. So it says, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces, and I'll stop there. And you hopefully can see that there's quite a bit of influence here. So grand jury, we saw that word on the previous slide with, I'll jump back to it. We saw that, we saw that idea, or sorry, maybe not the word, that idea and that concept right here. And then the jury with being people, jury of your peers is also implied in here.
I think I can come back now. I think the most important thing is that we can try to get the kids to see is maybe this idea right here. It doesn't have to be in detail, but this idea of due process, that you can't be put in jail without proving there's a problem. Using the courts, using a jury system, somebody has to prove it. So the king can't come to your house in the middle of the night, grab you from your bedroom, and put you in the dungeon. They can come to your house in the middle of the night. They can grab you, but then they have to prove you did something to put you into jail. And the whole thing just fell apart.
That's all right. And if we can get it back, we will. All right.
And so I think that gives us a sense, this idea of the Fifth Amendment, which we'll study a lot more in 8th grade, the right of due process, that nobody can take your rights away, your life, liberty, and property without due process, without proof that you've done something against the law and shown that in a court of law. That takes us to the 14th part. And remember, there were 65 parts of the Magna Carta. We're only looking at, I guess, 3. We've looked at 2 so far. We're going to look at 1 more. And that was the idea to obtain the general consent of the realm for the assessment of taxes. What does that mean?
That means no taxation representation. So people get to have a voice in whether or not taxes should be raised, and help determine how much taxes should be, and whether or not they should be, whether they should be increased, and so on.
Important point here. The last thing says the origins of Parliament, and that is a key part. This is the establishment of what we
You like that? Yeah.
He just needs to freaking draw a picture.
Okay. Got it. Hey. Oh, that sucks. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do too. I need to work on me just being a little more confident when you were gone and it was just me. It was a little long for it to just be me with my comfort level, and I need to get over that. Yeah, I need to get over that, but I'm trying. Yeah, I forgot about Wednesday. Yeah. All right, so we'll redo this one. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, whatever. Now, you would kind of mention it might be easier to try to do some of this stuff in the evening or whatever. Is there any evening that works for you, or? And I know you have kids and you're happy. Like I'm, there are things that are more important. That is for damn sure. And see, I think the piece that's a little bit better if I record it with a screencast is that I can go in and clip and trim some of that crap out that needs to be cut out. That's funny. There was.